Hey everybody, it's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We've got another amazing guest today. We're going to talk specifically about disc profiles, both in terms of how to sell to different profiles and how to deal with different profiles on your team as both a leader and as a staff member. We're going to talk all about the disc profile, what it is, and how it relates to building a career in real estate. And we've got a special guest that's going to cover all that. But first, let me get to the man, my co-host, and the Grandmaster himself, Greg Matano. Greg, what's up today?
Matt, what up, baby cakes? Man, it feels like forever since the last time you and I talked, and it's only been a couple of days. You know, what a few days makes, man, when it comes to life in itself. I got to tell you, I had a phenomenal weekend. I went to the San Francisco. I have a girl that's in town visiting me right now, very, very special to me. And she's never been to San Fran. And so we went over there. Not only did we get to go to San Francisco, it was Fleet Week. So we had the Blue Angels flying around us. We had the ships we can go get on. It was a phenomenal last couple of days, my friend. So I am blessed. I'm happy. I'm just a very, very I'm just happy today. Usually I have a rant. I have no rants. I have my water. I have my 77-degree weather outside.
You don't have anything to complain about? There's nothing? All right, good. I like this, Greg.
No, I know. Yeah, it's a good day. But Manesh is going to just make it rain for us today. So, Matt, who do we have?
All right, Minesh Baxi. Minesh, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Things are really great, and I'm blessed as well.
Good. So fill people in. So you are extremely well connected and high up in real estate, but people may not know you just because of the circles that you run in, and a lot of our viewership tends to be not, I wouldn't say younger, but newer agents or people starting over, or just people that are kind of in the mainstream community, so they're not necessarily as plugged into core or the team building side of things as you are. So give everybody kind of an idea of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, Matt and Greg. It's a privilege. I don't take it lightly because every time I have an opportunity to share a message, inspire somebody, help them grow their business, help them become better business people, it really is like I feel that I'm making an impact, and that's what I'm here for. And thanks for you bringing this message to a lot of people who might be looking. Now, again, like you said, I'm around a lot of people who have big teams, and at least have a team. Most people who are starting out in real estate do not have the money, resources to build a team around them. Yeah. They have to first be good salespeople before they can be business managers within their business. So I think we can cover information on both sides for people who are looking to be successful in sales and continue to grow their business. We can also help the people who are looking to increase their effectiveness by being better business managers in terms of hiring, bringing on good people, training them, etc. My focus is help people, business people, grow their effectiveness. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And so we were introduced by a guy in the mortgage space, Bob Malone, and he encouraged me to reach out to you. He's like, once he found out what I was doing, he's like, all right, you gotta talk to Manesh. So like after we spoke, we hung out, we met up in San Diego for coffee. You introduced me to Sunil, who I've put on like 4 or 5 other podcasts. Sunil was great. So that was awesome, by the way. He's a great guy, fun guy. So anyway, you told me that you wrote a book called Stop Hiring Losers, which is possibly the best name for a book ever.
Ever.
This is the title.
I've done this. I've actually done that several times. Manesh, and thank you so much. I wish I had read that prior to hiring the losers that I actually have had on my team. Good Lord.
Yes. Well, there's a nice little checklist that you might want to follow, Greg, where it says how to know if you're ready to hire, and I'm pretty sure you failed about 17 of the 7 or 10 things that are on there. So
where is it? Lack of hair gel?
No, it was lack of hair gel? There is the word system is mentioned specifically.
Oh God! Twice. Don't you cuss at me! Don't you cuss at me! That's it. This podcast is over.
I know.
Gosh damn it!
Well, that's kind of where I want to start, because Greg, to me, you are like the prototypical highly successful salesperson who is allergic to systems. You're a shark. You're always moving. You're ADD. You're ADHD. You're PhD. I don't know what all the hell.
Keep going with the HDs. Yeah, I like that. PhD was a good one to end on. I like that.
Yeah. All right. So
this is never going to happen.
In your work with Core and a bunch of the other teams that you've kind of encountered and worked with over the years, what do you think are some of the common things that the really successful rainmaking agents have in common?
Very good point. So let's separate the two things here. The first thing I want to separate is what is a characteristic or profile that I have found, which people need to know about. And I'm not sure how many of your agents and other viewership know what a DISC report is. So I would like to go over that.
Yeah.
But also I would like to talk about the process itself of thinking, which goes from being a salesperson to actually owning a business, which is not the common model within the real estate industry. Let's talk about the DISC first.
Okay.
This is DISC, which is an acronym for dominance, influencing, steadiness, and compliance. There are other words other people use. For the dominance, people use assertive. For the influencing, people use animated. For the steadiness, people, they use the word amiable. And for the C or compliance, they use the word analytical. And the model behind was started actually by the guy who started the Wonder Woman. So
Wonder Woman.
What?
yeah, he's the same guy who created the Wonder Woman character.
No
Matt,
way.
Matt, it's your creator.
Yeah, interesting one. So what he
I did not know that.
Yeah, what he found that there are people with different traits, and those traits have to be learned about the person in order to communicate more effectively. And the reason I wrote the book, Stop Hiring Losers, would you be interested in that story, Greg?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Matt, I think I might have mentioned to him before, but here is the reason behind the book, Stop Hiring Losers. What happened was I was a computer programmer for 12 years. Now, I'm like Greg, in that respect. I'm somebody who is not very, I would say, at one location kind of guy. Would that be true? Like
Yeah,
you
pretty
want
much.
you want to talk to people, you want to have fun, right? Sitting in front of but talking to computer may not be as much fun all the time. So anyway, the bottom line was I was a computer programmer for 12 years, and I did not want to just talk to the computer all day long. And that's when I realized I didn't like that profession and I needed a change. And because I needed a change, I went into this speaker, author, and business coach. During that process, one of my friends, Stan Mann, he introduced me to the philosophy of the DISC, and I took an assessment and I was blown away what I found. I found I was a people person and I did not like details much.
And you were a programmer before that? Is that all details?
Wow. Yeah. We very nearly went down the same path, because I checked into, like, I remember specifically sitting, like, when I was 18 or 19 years old, going to like an ITT Tech and looking into their computer networking program.
Seriously?
And thank God. Oh, seriously, yeah. Yeah.
No
And
kidding.
if I had gone
You
down
never
that
told me
path,
that.
that's exactly what I would have figured out.
I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's in technology in systems engineering and management. Okay, so I was a geek, except I didn't like the job of being a geek. 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, that's not me, right? Okay, so that's the part. Anyway, the bottom line where I'm coming back to is to share with you is that I realized that my profile was more suited for having fun, talking to people, rather than programming all day long.
Now we're talking. Now I can get along with you. Okay,
Correct.
let's go.
That's where I can relate to the people who are watching or listening to this podcast, because they can easily identify being the person who didn't fit in other places but decided speaking, writing, or being just involved with people is more enjoyable rather than sitting in one corner shuffling paper. And that's, I think, the part of it. So where I'm going back with that is I was the loser. So if you had hired me, like, unfortunately, none of my employers ever took the DISC assessment on me.
Yeah.
I don't think they had a clue on what they were doing there. They were hiring people based on the resume and the skill, which I had because I had all the background, except when it comes to preference during the 8-hour workday job, I wasn't a fit. It's like asking me to be in NBA when 5'4", short Indian, not running very fast. I mean, you're going to be obviously hiring a loser, right? That's really how I came up with Stop Hiring Losers. Is the person is a winner in other areas of life,
Yeah.
but specific to that role, if you are building a team around certain characteristics, that person would not fit in that role and hence may not be even part of your team.
Yeah.
And that's really the reason behind Stop Hiring Losers. Does that help you understand, or your people understand?
Yeah. We've talked about it on the show a little bit, so hopefully people have gotten some of the more background, some of the other background that we've done on the DISC profile. But yeah, so let's talk about the because you mentioned the transition from salesperson to business manager, and what do you mean by the fact that that's not, or the statement that that's not typically the way it works? What's your perspective on that?
Very good. So obviously, everybody in real estate knows they have to sell, which means what? You go talk to people. Except when you talk to people and you bring in business, you realize that you have to actually help the business get done, which means taking care of the customer, taking care of the paperwork, transaction coordinator, and everything else. And that's the part when they realize that there are more responsibilities on the salesperson than they thought initially. All of them would love to just take the sales part of the role and then leave the rest to somebody else, which is not always that easy. And that's the first part of being a salesperson. Now, as a business person, you look at saying, okay, am I generating leads prospecting wise? And how do I take care of my leads, customers, taking care of the service, etc. part of it. And the last part is being a profitable business. And a lot of realtors don't even pay their taxes on time. I'm sure you have heard of.
Yeah, I was going to say we don't get to number 2, let alone step number 3. Like
Good
analyzing
Lord.
whether we have
Number two is a
whether we have a profitable business comes down to whether you can afford to buy drinks at the bar at the end of the month or something.
Matt, that's an essential part of being a real estate agent. You must be drinking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To
Well, I'm
deal
sorry.
with your clients.
As one person that might come on the show in the future pointed out, that is 30% of their lead generation strategy is one of the partners in the business goes down to the bar and literally networks at the bar during hours for about 4 days a week. That's which, hey, more power to them. If it works, it works.
And if they know how to do that and they're good at it, I don't drink alcohol, I would be terrible at it, So
what?
Or generating needs at the bar.
Hey, I'm a lightweight too. I'm right there with you. But
actually, Matt is a lightweight. I've gone drinking with this guy before. I mean, a half a beer, this boy's halfway to the wind. I mean, but good Lord.
Maybe not half.
Not far from that at all. I totally identify that. And
all right, so essentially you've got people that get into real estate that they are at best salespeople. Hopefully they're salespeople, and then they find out, hey, we're not really business people, and they have to find out. They have to start taking into consideration how to get the operations side running while they're generating leads, while they're bringing on clients, and then maybe at the end of the day, then they get to start worrying about whether they actually have a profitable business.
Very good point. Thank you, Matt. You said very well.
Okay, so getting back to the traits of what you think the best of those have in common. So if you take people, I would agree with you in the sense that we don't have a lot of true entrepreneurs come into real estate where they really approach it from a full business person's perspective right away. Most of what we have is salespeople that are attracted to the business that then learn over time how to be business people, right? So they don't usually start that way. So once they get through that process, though, of becoming a business person and really learning how to build a profitable business, what are some of the characteristics that you see of people running really successful teams? What do they tend to have in common, especially when it comes to the DISC?
Well, the first thing is the DI are that high. So they have very high D, very high I, which means they are results-oriented people. They're ambitious, very direct in their communication at times, and they're impatient. And they are looking to get results over bottom line. That's how they talk. The second thing is they're always people-oriented as well, because if they're not people-oriented, they're going to be too abrupt with people, and people who are high influencing. What you find is that they are going to be talking, they're going to be life of the party, they're going to make people feel comfortable. Now, unfortunately, they're also very disorganized, which is why they need a system and a team in order to help them get the job done. Now, one of the reports I do, which is beyond the DISC, is called the motivational report. So we talk about what motivates a person. And what we have found is people who are successful in real estate and any direct contact sales, where they are actually going out generating leads on their own, they are all pretty much dictated generally by being very money motivated, and they're also very independent people. So we call that economic and individualistic. And what we have found is that when you have those characteristics in common, you have somebody who has the ability, or at least the personality, so to speak, in order to go out and make things happen. And if they are D, which is high D, then they are focused on results, which means they are more likely to be focused on making sure they actually get the job done, rather than just focusing on, okay, I'm here to talk to people. Because sometimes people think if they can talk to people, they can be friendly, they can make money. Well, it's not always the case, because if you just talk and build relationships, you can generate leads, but you won't be able to close them. And you and I know at some point somebody has to sign a contract.
All right. Well, let's talk. Yeah, very, very true. So let's talk about the SC sides, because I think there are a lot of team leaders out there that are very high D. They're maybe a little bit lower on the I, and they're actually very systems oriented. So they must have like a high C in there somewhere. They're very analytical. They bring almost an engineering approach into real estate. And some of those guys end up being really successful. They're not always, they tend to be listing agents. They go in, they take the listing, they can fake their way through a high I for about an hour, hour and a half, and then they get the hell out of there, and then they go back to being themselves. So those guys can be really successful. I think my personal opinion on this is that, so Greg, we had Lars Hedenberg on the show here a while back. My impression of him was that he was very much that way. He's like an MBA, graduate. You came out of aerospace engineering and went into real estate. And now he's built one of the most successful real estate coaching companies that's out there right now, coaching over 100 clients in group coaching. He's totally that way. So Manesh, do you see that personality profile much? Do you encounter that much in teams out there?
No, not for the leader. For the leader, DI is pretty much the most common one. There are people with D and C who are successful, but again, they can tolerate people only for so long. To break their way to the I, and because they don't want to have small talk, they don't want to just engage with people.
Oh my God, it's Matt. You just described Matt.
It's fun, but that's what's weird though, is that on the DISC profile, I come out as 99D, 99I, but behaviorally, yes, I am that way.
Oh my God, that's not true.
I think my C is like in the, I think it's in the high 40s maybe. Okay. I've become much more systematic.
Yeah, 40s is high enough, but quite a few people have there in their 20s, and so the DISC profile.
I think Greg is somewhere in the negative. He's somewhere through the basement.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. But if I actually had to, I would actually put systems in, which I have done in my business, because I have to do it because no one else is there. But I mean, I always laugh because Matt and I just got off the road together for a little while traveling, and we got done. I mean, I was ready to go. I mean, I was tired, but I could have stayed out and played. Matt and I looked at Matt and I'm like, Matt, dude, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to get a pizza and watch TV. I'm like, okay, I'll totally roll with that. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's after talking to people for 8 hours straight and then 2 speaking engagements sprinkled in there too. Yeah,
that was
I'm
fun.
Ready to call it quits.
That was fun though. But yeah, you definitely ate away your energy, and I was there with you. Very much. I'm a high D, high I, but I mean, I do need my recovery time. So Manesh, I mean, how do you handle the high D, high Is? Or high D, high S's. I mean, you're an S, right? High D, high S.
High C.
I'm an I and S.
I see.
I mean, D now just because I hang out with so many Ds.
They're a bunch of dicks. I hear so many D's. I mean, I don't mean to say dick on public air, but I'm going to say it. But I mean, how do you get how do you help people recover, get their energy back? I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people would like to know.
Well, here's what I find. And again, there is going to be what is called the natural style and the adapted style. In the natural style is who you are. Adapted style is who you think you have to be to succeed in that environment. And that's where, so when you are, again, simple energy wise, we'll have, we only have so many reserve of energy. So at some point we're going to be out of breath, out of energy, just because we have spoken to so many people. I mean, at some point you'll need that. But when it comes back to recovery, I think what I have found for me, which works, is going back to the fundamental of understanding what you really enjoy and focusing on it. In my case, for example, I love being around people, but at the same time, when I'm done with my day, I'm looking to rejuvenate myself by focusing on, hey, why was I doing it? What did I get out of it? Because if I keep that in focus, then I'm finding it easier to overcome any negative feelings I might have at the end of the day, because you're going to talk to some people who might not be receptive. Some people will not be saying very nice things about you. I don't know who you are, but they don't know who you are. And again, it's just like one of those conversations you have. And I think as a D sometimes, or even an I who likes to be liked by everybody, it can hurt.
That'd be me.
It can hurt emotionally at that time. You put yourself out there and people may not respond the way you want them to be responding to you. At that time, I think processing your emotions is a little harder sometimes than others, depending on who's saying what to you. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, all I do is focus on, okay, why do I enjoy what I do? What is it that I get? Like, I just look for that 1 nugget, 2 nuggets. That, like one of my clients, I spoke in front of some 60 realtors a couple of weeks ago in Chicago. And the best compliment I got was from him saying, Minesh, you have really stepped up your game. Last time when I had you come and speak, you were great, but this time you were even better.
Nice.
So when I focus on that, then all the other stuff becomes less important. It's more of, regardless of whether you are a DISC, you'll still have to overcome that.
So it's basically finding your happy place. Like finding your happy place, find that thing that like
yes.
in
Why you do
it could be family, it could be your environment, it could be going for a walk, it could be your dog, your cats, your goldfish, whatever the hell it is, right? But as long as it's empowering you,
Correct.
That's what you need to find, right?
Exactly. And I think I have a sense of gratitude, just like right now. I really am privileged that we have this conversation going on. To me, this is an opportunity for me to share a message which hopefully one can listen to. Like a couple of days ago, somebody I met, somebody who has heard me speak, and this person was about quitting his business, just almost ready. And then he went to a speech that I gave, which turned him around like 180 degrees. And suddenly he's doing much more than he ever did before. And he was sharing that with me. He said, Minesh, I don't know exactly what you said, how you shared it, or what was the whole ingredient. But by the time I was done speaking and he had heard the message, things just turned around for him. And that is what I focus on. Because if I focus on that personally, I can take away the negatives and not worry about it.
That's awesome. So many people don't ever actually focus on what makes them energized. They only focus on what they have to do. So when they do what they have to do, then they get drained and they never get repowered back up. So then they're never quite at that 100% again because they're always getting eaten away a little bit. I think one of the most powerful things that you're talking about, which is so prevalent in our culture, is doing the day-to-day grind, but then they never take time for themselves.
Yeah.
So if you were to say to anyone out there, what would be the number one way to find what makes them empowered? What makes them feel energized? I mean, what would be something that you would say to anybody? Say, go look for, this is what you're gonna find to make you more fulfilled in life or more energized when you go back out and have to do the grind again.
Again, we are in different stages of life. Let me just put it like this. You are either in a starving phase, which a lot of people
I know a lot of people in the starving phase.
Yes. Then they go on from starving to survival.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the next phase called success. And the last phase is significance. Mm-hmm. And what I have found, I live my life with 2 simple principles as long as possible. Again, I'm not perfect, so I don't do this all the time.
You're not?
No,
oh my
very
gosh!
Disappointed. We expect you to live up to this stuff 100% of the time.
Matt,
otherwise, don't even.
We hired a non-perfect guest. What were you doing?
I failed as a guest booker.
So the first one is make people feel special.
Yeah.
Because if I can do that, I know I will feel good about myself. And the second one is to come from a place of being a giver. So if I can practice these 2 principles all day long in my life, I know I will be at a much more happy place because I'm living by those principles rather than looking for gratification from other people's ideas, opinions, or some fake standard that I have set for myself. And I've seen people who are very successful who I was
because you're focusing on only what you can control, which is a big part of like happiness and just being able to look at yourself in the mirror is that element of focusing only on what you can control, which is part of why I yell at Greg about goal setting all the time, because Greg is you're big on huge goals and stuff like that, which is fine if it motivates you, but a lot of people when they don't hit those goals, it demotivates them, and so they need to focus on what they can control because you can't control outcomes, you can only control activity.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
No. We're gonna dive into that real fucking quickly.
No.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold. Back that happy train up real quick, dude. Mr. Negativity over there, Debbie Downer back over there, Matt Johnson. I'm like, hey Matt, we should probably try to get 3,000 people on our Facebook page. Like, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm like, dude, we're at 3,500. We're cruising to 4,000 or 5,000 before the end of the year. I mean, dude, me dreaming big is what I do. That's part of what makes me happy. You rain on my parade is kind of shitty. Okay.
Rain on your parade.
Well, let me talk about that. Can I put a quick input on that?
Please. If we're going to put down Matt, yes, absolutely.
Oh, great.
Well, I'm not going to put down anybody, right? We said we want to make people feel special.
Yes. Sorry, everybody's special.
There are 2 types of people when you have big goals. The first person is going to be somebody who gets energized by big goals. They have the challenge. They have the competitive spirit coming out of them.
That's
The
me, baby
second one
cakes.
is the big goals paralyze them.
Mad.
So you have to look at your own response to setting goals. Do you get energized by big goals or you get paralyzed by big goals?
I get energized.
And the coaching to be given to that person is based on their response. So I'm very aware when I'm coaching my clients whether I need to help them set big goals because that's what will energize them, or give them short-term, tangible goals where they can feel that they have some control and they can actually reach it rather than feeling like, hey, I can't even reach there, so why bother? Like, I'll give you a simple example. So when you look at pyramids of Egypt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see all these big triangles, pyramids, right? And all of these are like straight line going to the top. So if you went from far looking at this place and then you said, oh, I can never climb to the top. But as you went closer to the place and you saw each one, that line that looked like a straight line was actually a staircase with rails on the side. And the moment you went and closely found that, suddenly that belief goes up to say, oh, I don't have to climb the steep slope without the stairs. And there you have an opportunity. And that's where the part of a coach comes in play, is to help people see that this is not a straight line slope that you will slip and fall. This is a place where you can actually have some control on taking step until you get to the top. And that's the part as a coach I love doing. And again, it's going to be different for different people.
No, it really is. I mean, Matt and I always pick on each other because, you know, he looks at life one way, I'll look at life the other. And the two of us, when we blend together, it's a very, 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 very good thing because he tries to balance me and I balance him back. And, you know, I push him a little bit. He keeps me in check. And everybody needs that in life, right?
Exactly.
If you had everybody like me who was like shooting for the stars, I mean, you're going to, you know, probably land in a mud puddle somewhere. But if you have, you know, when you have someone like Matt, who's like the support backbone, like like the systems that's like, okay, dickhead, do you want to get here? All right, let's build the process to get there. And then that's kind of what you do, right, Manesh? I mean, you help build the backbone, you help build the systems, you help people get to where they want to be. So basically, you're Matt in a different form for multiple different people.
Yeah, I'm a support guy for people who want to achieve big results.
Oh, Matt, that's what you are. That's gonna be your business card thing. Like you're gonna say, Matt Johnson, help people get to where they want to do when they do big things.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's why the podcast service exists, to do
Exactly.
exactly that. Right.
No, I love it.
That's true, and it's a lot of it comes down to whether you believe you can, whether you see that that staircase going up the pyramid or not. If you can see that, I have no problem with a big goal. You know, it's all about whether you can see that ahead of time or whether it looks like a steep slope to you. And in the occasions, yeah, I mean, like as the podcast has gotten more successful over the last year, my goals for the podcast have grown along with them to the point where I'm right there with Greg in terms of the big goals that we have. Whereas before they were all springing from Greg's imagination and based on his past success. And I'm looking at that going, yeah, we'll see. Now let's get to work and let's actually do something to make it to go forward towards our goals. Because I think the key there, and Minesh, you talked about two different types of people, but what I've realized, and my current belief on it is this. Different things motivate different types of people to take massive action.
Yeah.
And whatever motivates you to take massive action, like go as far down the rabbit hole as you can with that, because the key is just taking massive action. For me, it's setting like standards and you know, concrete things that I can control. That's what gets me to take massive action. Greg, it's the big goals, and then he translates those big goals into big action in certain areas. Where I help Greg, and where someone like me helps anyone that's a big dreamer, is getting them to say, okay, you have all these big dreams in conflicting areas, and you cannot take massive action on everything.
No.
What can I help you focus on so that you actually take the massive action to achieve the big goals and not just have big goals and no massive action?
Yeah, and massive action comes from people who are willing to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And the goals are designed to help you get out of comfort zone, because people say there are lazy people, and Tony Robbins has mentioned this before, is there are no lazy people, they're just impotent goals, which means that people have goals which don't empower them.
Yep.
And so when you look at a goal, regardless of what kind of a person you are, If it energizes you, regardless of how it is, whether it's a small goal or a big goal, then it's effective. But if it is not, then it's not, because it's not working in your favor. And I think people should remember that, for example, somebody who's starting out in real estate, relatively new, may look at the number one producer in their company, and they would look at that person, and some people would be like, I can never be that.
That's
Well, on the other hand, if you have the staircase, right, and we can show them a path that, hey, 3 months from now, you could be here, 9 months from here, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and then they have the support system to make sure that they can actually go up that road, they will get there. But it does take belief in reaching that.
Yeah.
It really does. And the one thing, there's two sayings that I really, really like. One is, if one man can do it, another can do it. That's one of my favorite sayings on earth. And the other one is, do something today your future self will thank you for.
Very good point.
And it can be anything. I mean, if you're fat, get your fat ass on a freaking treadmill, you chub muffin. No one likes, like love handles. If you're poor, work 7 days a week. Stop taking the weekends off if you have no way to make ends meet for your family. That's what I had to do when I don't have a family. But when I had for myself, I had $35 to my name. I worked 7 days a week, 13, 14 hours a day, and I made it happen. You have to find whatever pushes you. Manesh, what is one of the biggest things that you found that pushes people, not pulls them, pushes them to success?
Yeah. So you are talking about what comes from within rather than somebody.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So like the
Don't worry about it.
kind of thing, but with it internally from people.
Yeah, their BHAG, their big, hairy, audacious goal. What pulls them to greatness?
Well, what pulls them to greatness is really what I would call the simplest one, is the peer pressure. Okay. So when you are around people who are highly successful, they will push you because you want to be accepted by a certain group. Yeah. Peer pressure is the number one motivator for most people. And if you don't feel comfortable with those people, guess what will happen? You'll find another peer group that you feel comfortable around.
Lower than the other peer group.
Lower than the other one. Exactly. And that's what the main thing for most people is. How can I be accepted by these people? And your actions will be consistent with whoever that person is or the group is. Yeah. If you belong to a bowling group which has a lot of success, you will also strive to be doing that. You are in a real estate team or a small group in that company which is looking at itself as exclusive, and you want to belong to that group, you will do whatever it takes to belong to that group. And that's what energizes people. Like in the core, they have very high standards, and people are yearning to be accepted by those people.
The one of the great things you said right there is that, like, when people look at their friends, people don't really look at their friends. They look at them at a surface level, right? But if you look at them much deeper, they say that, tell me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. Correct. So, are you hanging out with drug dealers, drug addicts, alcoholics, workaholics, whatever the people are, that's what you're going to be like. Exactly. With the closest 5 people around you. So anyone who's watching this live, or the people watching this on the recording, take a real look at who you're really hanging out with, because that's your future. If you have wife beaters with stains on it, riding the Harleys, changing oil in your front yard, shit's going to get fucking gnarly down the road for you.
Sure. But that's if you're going to be a
scholar, then you're going to be much
clearly unsuccessful people is very easy to diagnose. Here's a harder thing for successful people, which is hanging around successful people in fields that you shouldn't be spending time in.
How so? Right? Break that down.
For example, I'm a musician, so I play 4 other instruments and could spend a lot of time and could go very deep down that rabbit hole of trying to be a successful musician again. So guess what? While I'm in this phase of building my business, I actively do not go out and make friends with musicians, especially really good ones, because that peer pressure acceptance is going to cause me to want to start practicing and taking time away from the business to get in a band or something else. You know what I'm saying? But just like it's easy to say, or it's easy to diagnose and say, look, I have some deadbeat loser friends. I need to ditch them and start hanging out with successful people. The problem is when you start hanging out with certain types of successful people that they can pull you, just being around them can pull you off of your mission and your focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. I seek out entrepreneurs. I'm not seeking out employees because I naturally have the tendency to be around entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I have made myself more and more consciously making those choices in order to make sure that I don't end up in places, because you and I know if you don't put yourself around people who are growing, you will also stop growing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm always finding myself like you, Manesh and Matt, like you. You know, I'm always looking for guys and gals that are just like that one half a step ahead of me or more, that are going to push me, drive me, inspire me to get to where I want to be. But it has to be, Matt, back to your point, not to be a musician because I suck at instruments or whatever else that instruments or musician means for another person, right? It's staying away from that and going towards, being around the people that are going to drive you to where your ultimate goal is.
Yeah, like you work out, but you're not hanging out with MMA fighters and spending 3 hours in the gym.
Correct.
God, they scare me.
Yeah, well, they should, because they can all kill you with about a pinky finger. But anyway,
I know, it's like ding, and you're dead. I'm like, oh,
all right.
Horrible.
So let's get into the sales part a little bit. And before we do that, I just want to mention a couple things on our site, McDanielRealEstateSystems.com. You can get Greg's favorite scripts there. You can get our training product for farming there. There's all kinds of good stuff there. We did a whole course on farming, including all of Greg's best stuff on prospecting, from cold to hot, outbound, all kinds of good stuff. So check that out.
We're updating that.
So Greg has some new material for that he's going to add. So McDanielRealEstateSystems.com. You can also download all of Greg's favorite scripts there with videos and stuff that go where he goes all into each script as well. And then check out Homing In, which is the app for seller lead generation. So sellers can actually request a home valuation directly from agents. They were started by a couple previous guests on the show. We just want to support them and drive everybody to check that out, Homing In. So Manesh, let's get into the disc profile in terms of how you sell and maybe adjusting your style. So most of the people listening to this are going to be probably high I. A lot of them are also high D, but at the very least, they're people. That's why they get into real estate.
Correct.
So it's easy for us to deal with other high Is.
Correct.
Right, so we're going to be drawn to them. Each one of us wants to make the other person comfortable. We're building rapport. We're laughing at each other's jokes and yada yada. The problems come when we try to relate to someone that's like a high D, low I, or the worst of all, I think probably the hardest character profile to sell to is probably a high C. And you tell me what you think, but I've heard other people say that. So how do you kind of adjust your personality and your sales style to some of those other disc profiles?
Very good point. The first is being aware of your own style. Because if you don't know what your style is, then you think who you are versus what you really are. And if you don't have, and that's one of the reasons I highly recommend people to take their own disc profile. And once they have seen their own profile, they have a little bit more clarity about who they are. So let's start with knowing yourself. Now that you know whether, let's assume you are an I, and you are talking to a D, you need to be able to find out whether you're talking to a D or not. So that's the second step. So how do you find out you're talking to a certain profile? The simplest formula is this one. If the person is a fast talker, the person is a D or an I. If the person is relatively a slow talker, the person is an S or a C. On the other side, if the person is friendly, the person is either an I or an S. If the person is more aloof or more direct to people, then you can sense that those people are likely to be D or a C. So once you have your diagnosis of that personality or the profile you're talking to, you can say, okay, this person is most likely a D. Okay, now that you have said this person is a D, how do you deal with that person? Well, we already agreed this person likes bullet points, bottom line, very direct, very quick decision maker. Well, guess what? You and I need to realize that they want to get the highlights and not every detail of the place.
Yep, that's me. 100%.
Exactly. And hence you have to modulate your style to their style. That's the first part of it being for a D. The highest difficulty obviously is going to be C, because the C is looking for details, the C is looking for information, the C is looking to be convinced that this is a guaranteed process which will work for them. As an I, proof is not really important. Hey, trust me how I feel is really the simple way the I is talking. And the C is like, okay, I don't trust you, you better give me more information. So that's where the I has usually the hardest time convincing a C. Now let's take another fact into account. And again, I'm saying this as a fact, more like a survey, that almost 40% people have some degree of S in them, which means they are people pleasers, they like approval, and they're easy to get along. Which is why in any selling situation, you and I have to be more of a leader, because the S is not looking for a change, S is looking to be led. So when you are selling, your focus has to be, am I being the leader? I'm not talking about being bossy, because being bossy is different from being the leader. Leader is you are leading them through questions, interaction, engagement towards a decision. That is what a leader does. So as an I, regardless, you have to focus on, okay, am I going to follow a process to lead people? Because the I doesn't want to follow any process. All the I wants to do is, all the I wants to do is, hey, this is what I came up with right now. This is important to me. Let's listen and talk.
Manesh, how do you know me so well? I mean, it's strange. It's like you have a process for this.
But it's easy to figure that out, isn't it, Greg? Just based on the description I gave.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, I'm like, look, bitch, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. You know, everybody get in line. Everyone's like, I don't trust him, so let's back this up a little bit. And I'm like, damn it.
Exactly. And that's when you and I, as leaders, are trying to communicate to a lot of people who also may have some difficulty in being a leader. And that's where our information comes into play, our guidance, our coaching comes into play, to make sure that they know what they're doing is going to be in the best interest here. And that's where, just going back as an example for I. And again,
yeah, it's very
a few more things come into play. How you talk, fast, slow, how you match and mirror the other person comes into play. Another thing that would come into play for most people is to make sure that the body language is consistent. You're not close to somebody, you're not touching them, depending on the person's profile.
Like, no touching?
Yeah, DNC, like touching.
We can't touch?
Touch.
Manesh, our friendship's going to go to shit. I can't touch? Oh, come on, Bubba.
Well, I'm not a DLC.
Come on.
So don't worry about that. But INS are open to touching DNC.
That's like, if you come near me, I'll cut your freaking hands off. Seriously.
Whatever. Hi, Greg. I'm fine. You can slap me on the back and give me a nice handshake, a nice fist bump, and I'll be good to go. Now, if you touch my leg, then you're getting into creeper status, and I may want to back off a little bit. But
I was so going to do that next time I see you. We're going to sit next to in the conference room, like, on the thigh. How is he going to react? Matt's going to be like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's.
But it's interesting to see those reactions. It really is.
Yeah.
I have no idea it's actually going to happen, Matt.
Oh, please don't. Minesh, you've given him so many horrible ideas. All right. So anyway, so we're talking about, so you first know yourself, then know how to kind of quickly diagnose somebody. Then you kind of have to have a little bit of an inventory of tools in your sales toolkit, so to speak, in terms of, okay, I have been through this situation before. I need to tick. I need to, slow down. I need to give bullet points. I need to whatever. Don't touch. Make eye contact. So you just have to have some things, like some general 3 to 4 bullet points for each personality profile, where you go, okay, I may not know this person intimately, but I can at least diagnose what they're like in this situation, and I need to adjust in these 3 or 4 ways, and that's usually good enough to get you 80% of the way, right?
Sure. Exactly. And again, if you are aware that you are different from them, you have to make an effort. Because if they're naturally like you, then you don't have to make as much an effort.
Yeah, and that's what helps about being a high I. I think high C's maybe have trouble with high I's because we can be overbearing and a little too familiar. And if we sense that, if we sense that, if we understand that it's a personality type thing and not a rejection thing, or them just being uptight, I think that helps high I's to sit back and adjust our approach so that we can go, oh, wait, no, I'm dealing with a high C. I need to kind of hang back a little bit. I need to slow down. I need to give some detail and some proof and build my credibility and stuff like that. And that's probably enough to make just that type of adjustment alone gives us a pretty good head start on the eyes that don't understand and just keep plowing forward, trying to connect with them like they're another eye and not understanding why it's not working.
Yeah, I don't want to say this way, but I hope it doesn't come across are possibly the least self-aware about themselves. Okay, what I mean by that is they are very not aware that they are being dominating in their conversations. They're just thinking that they are being friendly. So they may not be as aware that they have to change their style to accommodate other people.
Interesting. That's just eyes, or is that?
Mostly I is the first one, because S is obviously paying attention, C is paying attention, right?
Right.
Okay. So again, we are always not aware of our own profile, but we are talking of selling situations. We're talking of actually engaging with people. So an I thinks that's the only way to do it. Whereas they may have to look back and say, okay, there is a different process, or maybe I should use some steps before I just keep going the way I'm always going.
That actually makes a lot of sense for me. Thank you very much. I'm always sitting there going like, bitches, why are you guys not paying attention to me? I'm saying something really, really cool. And this is the way it's supposed to go. And everyone's like, no, it's not. And now actually, all jokes aside, yeah, I like to make jokes. But I mean, honestly, that really does make a lot of sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're in, East Bay. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of high-tech professionals. I mean, these are people that definitely come from the engineering mindset. You're dealing with a lot of doctors, lawyers. I mean, these are not the people that have your personality profile in common, Greg.
No, not one bit at all.
Yeah. So that's interesting, Manesh. I've never heard that perspective on maybe the lack of self-awareness. I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong here, may not just be, if you break it down differently and break outside of the DISC profile a little bit, I think that runs like on the spectrum from introvert to extrovert. Extrovert, like if you're super extroverted, you have a little less of that self-awareness because you don't know when you're making other people uncomfortable, which is part of why you're a super extrovert. Then the more introverted you get, the more you're introverted because you're either, aware of how you're making other people feel, or you're super hyper aware, maybe to the point where it's debilitating and you care too much about what other people think, and that's a problem with sales. But it's interesting. We just talked about this the other day. I don't remember where it came up. It may have been Brian Casella, our interview on Pursuing Results podcast last week that'll be coming out here next month.
That was a good interview.
That was a really good interview. And we talked a little bit about how like somebody made the comment that like this is the golden age of the introvert entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because Manesh, would you consider yourself an introvert?
Me personally, no.
No, really? All right. So I may have misdiagnosed, but I've become like I'm an introvert by nature. I get my energy from being alone, and then I can go out there and socialize, and I like people, but then I need to retreat and recharge. So you recharge by being around people, right?
Yes. If I'm not feeling well, the best remedy for me is to go out and talk to people.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. So that is the difference. Yeah. So we're in this interesting time where it's the technology. Yes, we hide behind it to a certain extent, but it's also made it a lot easier for introverts to connect with people and build a business, even if you're not the super extroverted type, which is very, very cool.
It really is.
Well, let me give you one quick point just to add to what you just said. The simplest way to look at it is introverts are more reflective, extroverts are not.
What are you saying about me, Manesh?
I'm an extrovert too. Introverts are more reflective, which means what? They're going to analyze not only other people, they're going to analyze themselves.
Yeah. Very true. No, I'm messing with you. No, the more and more that
I have to block a little bit.
The more and more I look at this thing, Matt, and I always pick on Matt, but I pick on him because I actually feel that he and I are very alike on this. Yeah. Because, after a long day of being around people, dude, home cheese. I need to not talk to your ass. I need to go kick it, in my house, just open my windows, not talk to anybody, like a movie, something like that. Where, like you, Manesh, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were just saying, like, if you had a long day, you're like, how am I going to repower? I'm going to go talk to more people, right?
It depends on the type of energy I've had to put out. Because obviously, talking to people does take energy. So at some point, your energy is limited. But like, for example, if I'm feeling a little bit down in the dumps, so to speak, I just don't have energy. The best thing for me to do would be to go to a networking event or an event, seminar, or go talk to a couple of people, because that will bring back the energy that I was missing. So if I stay quiet all day long, I will not be as happy, if that's a simple word to use here. And
no, I can see that. When Matt and I were down at Long Beach 2 weeks ago, I mean, I thought I was going to be super tired on Saturday. Saturday was our big day. I mean, that was like our 9-hour day. And my feet were killing me, but I was super animated just to talk to another human being.
Yeah.
And that's what got me going. It kept me going. That was my energy. So I totally see where you're coming from. It totally does come from what kind of energy you're putting out to what you need to be putting back into yourself.
Correct. I mean, again, speaking takes energy out of the person. And it's not just because you're extrovert or introvert. It's because when you're helping and communicating your message to a group of people, it takes energy. And that energy is a little bit more than just your extrovert, introvert energy.
Yeah. Well, after talking to Matt, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're reaching the end of our time with Manesh. So first of all, I wanted to point out where you get the book, the StopHiringLosers.com. That's a no-brainer because it's a free PDF version of your book,
Exactly.
Stop Hiring Losers. And there's all kinds of good stuff in there. So there's the checklist for knowing if you're ready to hire. There's the cost of a bad hire. I mean, there's so much good stuff in this. The overview of assessments, 12 simple hiring steps. And I mean, motivators, personal values, and attitudes. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in there. It's a really, really, really excellent book. So it doesn't matter whether you are hiring a personal assistant, and especially like if you're a solo agent, you just about can't afford to make a bad hire. If you have 30 people on your team, you can afford to swing and miss every now and again. But if you're a rainmaker and you're hiring your first assistant or your first buyer's agent or whatever, man, that's going to cost you a lot of money if you hire someone wrong right off the bat. So even if you don't work with Manesh personally to have him do the assessments, which is what he does for some of the top teams, even if you don't work with Manesh, just getting his book and getting into his system and being able to learn what he's learned would be incredibly valuable and probably save you thousands in lost wages, money, and time. So Manesh, what's another good way, just besides going and getting the book from your website, what's another good way for people to either to recommend or refer you to their friends or just take a step towards you and kind of stay in contact with you?
And I don't have a problem giving out my number to reach out. Okay.
Be careful, Manesh. We've had guests do this. They get blown up. So.
Well, I think your crowd is okay, right?
Yes, they're safe. We like them.
Yeah. So 248-866-0063.
Oh, shit. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Done. Done. It's in the world now.
Yeah. And the reason I'm willing to share that with people is because the type of people who are going to call me are people who are really looking to improve themselves.
No, that's totally true.
To me, I'm very much like I'm turning 54 this month, and I have a lifestyle that I can lead for another 20, 30 years without changing much, which is what I want. Okay, most people are looking to find themselves in, hey, I have to hit the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, then I can go and retire or whatever else. Frankly, I really lead an okay lifestyle without working too many hours, working with the people I like to work with. So, you know,
you don't look a day over 36. Quit playing with this 54 bullshit. Okay?
I don't have a problem mentioning my age.
Well, you said it first.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And like, for example, for 4 months, I live in Michigan right now. For 4 months, we'll be gone to Orlando in January through April because it gets cold here, as you can imagine, right?
No.
Not like San Diego. It's not like San Diego, beautiful all throughout the year. It doesn't. And then this year in winter, we went to Disney World pretty much every day, or Universal Studios with my 8 and 13-year-old kids. We went there like 71 times this year.
Oh my God.
71 times? You're making that number up, right?
No, I'm not.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Well, the reason I'm sharing that part specifically is because of the flexibility of life that I have created for myself.
Yeah.
I can work a few hours, and then in the afternoon, okay, kids, let's go play. And
That's
we homeschool them, so that gives me more flexibility. But
right.
What I'm talking about is talking to entrepreneurs. Because I'm talking to entrepreneurs, I want them to realize you have to have not just a retirement plan, because that's one thing you can do, but have a plan that you can work as much or as little as you want, and you can do it for a long, long time. Because at some point, you want to be engaged and productive, even though money may not be the issue anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what you said, like going from success to significance.
Right.
And that's where, and that's why I enjoy the podcasting service and stuff like that, because I get to work with people that they've already hit that success stage, And now they're looking for the significance, and that's where like having their own podcast, doing coaching, doing consulting, whatever it is that they're kind of what they think is as the next step in reaching that significance. That's where I like to come alongside them and help and get their message and help them reach more people, because that's part of my plan. That's part of my plan for significance, is helping other people reach more people with a message that can actually help. So kind of it plays into my significance and helping other people hit that. I see that, and I know, Minesh, you see this a lot too. The guys that are extremely successful, they push themselves for 15, 16 hours a day for the last 10 or 15 years, built uber successful businesses, and then you look around and go, crap, I built a super successful business in a really, really boring industry, and now it's on autopilot, and what the hell do I do now? You know? And then they get into...
famous book about the guy who did Minecraft. I don't know if you know the guy who sold Minecraft to, I think, Microsoft.
Okay.
And he became a billionaire. Except like, I don't have any friends to play my games with during the day.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, that totally sucks.
I didn't hear about that. That's funny though. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that my son is into Minecraft and stuff. So, somewhere I found out about that. That was interesting because, and I think the key part about legacy and significance is that you live through success of people you have inspired.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes and shares their success story with me, and I had some part to play in it, it energizes me. It fulfills me. It's like, okay, I'm getting what I'm looking for. Not just the monetary transaction which took place, and in some place there may be no monetary transaction up front. But by seeing them succeed, by believing in themselves, following a game plan, and actually achieving what they said they were going to do, is inspiring to anybody. And that's where we all become coaches and mentors, in order to see that in other people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's Greg. That's exactly why, and it's a good segue into this, because this is exactly why you do the McDaniel Challenge. You don't charge anything for it. It's hour to 2 hours of coaching that you do 4 nights a week, specifically for that, because you want to see the success that other people get out of coming to you, like setting up a plan, and then they report to you 3 months, 6 months, whatever down the line, and say, hey, that one phone call 6 months ago like changed my life. We had somebody come up to us at the CAR Expo here a couple weeks ago.
Jose?
Said, I have he's like, what does he have? 17 listings or something like that. He's talking to people in 3 different cities for potential expansion teams. He's coaching people, and 6 months ago he was ready to like jump off a bridge. At the very least, he was going to get out of the business until you got a hold of him. So
yeah, so check this. Cool. Check this out. So I talked to Arne, cool ass chick out of Nevada, and she's like this, dude, you kicked my ass into gear. Since we've talked, I've doubled down on my efforts and more than tripled my results. Love your enthusiasms, balls to the walls. I can get out of Mormonville. And Mormon land, actually, is what her actual verbiage was. But, I mean, it's those types of conversations when you're just like, what are you doing? You're missing the boat. Here's what you have to do. And then once they see that and they see the light, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's all there. I can have it all. I just need to change this tweak tiny little thing in my life, and bam, they're off to the races. But I mean, that is, Manesh, I mean, that is the true pleasure. I mean, it truly is incredible. And I know we got to wrap it up, Matt, so I'll do this real quickly. You guys, McDaniel Challenge, guys, it's an hour to 2 hours of free coaching, and there is FREE, free, all caps, all across the board there. There are no hidden agendas or hidden fees involved. The only thing I want to do is watch you guys become incredibly successful. By the way, Victor, you and your wife are freaking awesome. The video you guys sent me made me laugh my ass off, and I'm totally going to get you guys booked up on this stuff. But, guys, I am booked for the McDaniel Challenge, and I should have been prepared for this, but I'm not, so we're just going to roll with it for a second.
We'll call it mid-June of next year, right?
Hold up, Skillet. Yeah. Mid-June of next year is when you guys are going to be getting on McDaniel Challenge. Guys, please, for the love of all that's holy in this planet, get a hold of me before you're the 2017 kids. God, everybody hates the 2017 kids. Or 2018 kids. God, we're 2016. We're 2018 kids. Yeah, 2018 kids. Anyways, my number, guys, do this. 925-915-1978. Again, 925-915-1978. Please follow me. Please don't friend me. Facebook's a dick and won't let me have more than 5,000 friends. And so please follow me, and then you guys can see everything that I'm doing. And you can message me on there if you guys do not want to call me or text me. Please book today. And I love you guys. That's why I do this.
That's right. And remember to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher, depending on whether you want the audio or video versions. And then you can follow me across all platforms at Pursuing Results. And speaking of that, the new Pursuing Results podcast that me and Greg are doing, where we interview successful people in all industries on one book that changed their life. That podcast, the interviews they've just been absolutely ridiculous. We've had some amazing guys, everyone from Greg Harrelson and Brian Casella in the real estate space. Jay Sammet, Scott Love, Scott Hudspeth in the mortgage and recruiting industries. I mean, super, super high-level guys, deep thinkers, sharing really, really deep stuff on what it really means to be an entrepreneur and how to succeed in business and some of the books that have changed them. So go check that out. That's on Facebook as well. Just look up Pursuing Results LLC. You'll get all the video clips, and then you can subscribe to that on iTunes as well. So
amazing stuff, guys. Amazing stuff.
So remember to check out Manesh's book, Stop Hiring Losers, at stophiringlosers.com. Go download it, go read it, go be affected by it, and then tell Manesh how it has changed your life and your business so that he can get that sense of significance and achievement from helping you. So with that said, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Love you guys. See ya.